Reverb's new feature is awesome. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. So about 2 months ago, eBay came out with a new change, where if you're interested in making an offer, they came out with this new thing where to even put an offer in, you had to be willing to let them charge your card should the seller accept it. And I kind of saw this going 2 different ways. People were either going to love this because it makes serious buyers stand out and helps weed out some of the scammers and time wasters of the world. And then on the other side, I could see how somebody wouldn't want to do that because they don't want to give authorization to something that they don't know if it will end up occurring or not. And in that episode, I said I would love to see this feature go onto Reverb, and it looks like they watched eBay do this and took a little bit of the feedback that they were getting to implement it into their program. So now on Reverb, when you click Make an Offer, you can type in whatever you want to do, but all on the same page, it gives you 2 different options. Choose when you'll pay, charge your account directly as soon as it gets accepted, or you can say, I promise to pay within 3 days. It's basically the same thing. So this allows you to be a serious buyer or just a casual shopper. I think it's great because now nobody can get upset at all. You can choose what you want to do. Now, unfortunately, going back to eBay, that whole forced payment isn't on every single listing. Apparently, each individual seller can turn that on and off. It doesn't necessarily work that way for international transactions. So I'm sure there might be some variations within Reverb as well, but I think this is a fantastic option. I've already scored a couple of good deals this way. For example, picked up a 76 Les Paul Custom, got some Tim Shaw PAFs. It's because the sellers knew I was serious. As soon as they click accept, they were going to get the money because the seller will see a little note underneath your offer that it will be instantly processed. And as a buyer, I don't have to worry about logging into Reverb and going through the checkout process. This is what I got. It just said, hey, the seller accepted your offer. Here's what's coming your way. Super easy. Have to remember not to forget that you've made so many offers to max out your credit cards. But if this feature is not available in your account, sometimes it slowly rolls out to everyone. This could just be a testing phase. So I can't speak on behalf of all Reverb accounts, but mine has it and I'm loving it so far. But next up, we've got some news. Gibson's making $20,000 mandolins again. Before we get too crazy, just because we're a guitar show, we still have to learn and appreciate that Gibson has made other instruments, and not everybody's trying to be Jimmy Page. There is the bluegrass world, and the F5 mandolin, as far as I understand it, is like the burst of the mandolin world. Quick look at Reverb. They range anywhere from $100,000 to nearly $200,000 in asking prices on original 1920s examples. And honestly, I think this is great. Gibson's returning to their roots. I'm not sure how many mandolins they've been making recently, or if any at all, but having this return, I mean, it's exactly what Cesar and everybody has been talking about, that Gibson is trying to leverage their history. So bringing this back just kind of seems like a no-brainer. But look at these little tiny things. Beautiful back on that one. Great figured maple neck. You also got it on the edges. We've got all our fancy binding and swirls going on. Check it out from the side profile shot. That's just great. I like how they reissued the vintage style case with them. And interestingly enough, they have not aged these, as far as I can tell in these photos anyway, but we do get a recreation of that fancy headstock. Now, how many of them are they actually going to sell? Not exactly sure. Just like how many of the 20K Greenies are they really going to sell? And the answer is enough to make it worthwhile to exist, but certainly not something that everybody is going to own. Now, will we see one on my channel? I mean, probably not, unless somebody wants to new guitar day it, and even then, I would have to learn how to play mandolin. But I think it would be fun to appreciate the craftsmanship up close. So if you were a mandolin player and got all excited and then heard 20K, don't worry. That's just the F5 Master model reissue. They also have a slightly less fancy boy, the F5G mandolin, at a mere $6,000. Looks like its construction is a little bit different. It seems a little bit more lumpy, I guess you could say. It doesn't have the big fretboard extension, but it still has our nice little swoop down here. But I was looking at them side by side. What does make it look so different? It's the lack of a pick guard. Then we also don't have a binding cap over here, among other things that you can see side by side. And we don't have the binding on the headstock, but for the most part, it's all there. Because it's still got the flamed back and neck. It's looking good. But apparently both of these models were recreated using 3D scans, scientific analysis. They even used Lloyd Lohr's original production notes. It's definitely a new way as far as reissues go for Gibson, and I'm all for it. Now we've got some news from PRS. They've introduced some new SE models, including the CE24, the Custom 24 quilt top, and one of my favorites here, the Swamp Ash Special comes back. One of the first PRS guitars I ever tried was actually one of these Swamp Ash Specials. Now that was 8 years ago. I'd picked this one up in a blue Custom 24, I do believe. It had the interesting Swamp Ash body, had a cool red burst finish, 3 mini humbuckers essentially. If I remember correctly, it reeked of smoke and it had like a bunch of finger gunk on the fretboard. But I thought it was funny because it was such a sassy model. Check this out this time. We still have like the maple fretboard, but we've got abalone birds this time. That's really sweet, especially with this blue color. And I guess a lot of people are excited about this being the HSH setup. Apparently that's the first time for like a PRS SE or something of this body style. I don't know the full catalog of PRS and PRS SE guitars, but this example's pretty sweet. But if eerie blue's not your style, they also have a regular vintage sunburst. I feel like that one needs the cream cover over the middle pickup. Or if you want to be a little bit darker, they've got the charcoal. All of them have the abalone inlays. I feel like that works best on the blue finish. Sadly, it's not a sassy model anymore. I'll have to consider picking one of those up for review and documentation. But next up, the 24 quilt. I wasn't all that impressed from the stock photo, but now that I'm seeing this one, that's a great purpley quilt top. And nice, it's gonna have the matching headstock. But this one only has 2 humbuckers if that's more your style, but it's coming in the black gold burst. A turquoise, okay, we've reviewed an SE. I think it was the Myers signature. But that violet is a real winner, love that. But if non-matching headstock is a little bit more your style, you can go for the non-quilt variety in the black cherry. Blood orange, that's got an interesting hue mixing with the natural back and sides. The continuation of our turquoise, and the vintage sunburst. But now let's switch over to Fender. Fender's also come out with a new series called the Highway series. So essentially, if you guys remember the Acoustasonic guitars, you know, the Stratocaster, Telecaster, and the Jazzmaster, we've done reviews on them. They took the Acoustasonic elements, but then put them onto an existing acoustic guitar, and you've got 2 different sizes, the Parlor as well as the Dreadnought style. Now you might be saying, how on earth do you Acoustasonify an acoustic guitar already? Well, these are actually very slim bodies, they're not full-bodied. So it's kind of going to feel like an electric guitar in that aspect, but they still have the inlaid top to it. You've got your pickup around here. Apparently they're supposed to feel very similar to a regular acoustic style guitar. And in many ways, it seems very similar to the Gibson Americana series that we've been seeing in the demo shop that they toyed around with in 2013-ish. These are coming in 2 different variations, so you can get the spruce top, which we're seeing here, and then you can get a mahogany top like this one. And that's true for the Parlor size as well, so it just kind of depends on what tone wood you want out of the top, as well as what look you like better. But so far, the price across the board looks like they're all $1,000. They're being made in Mexico. We'll have to see how people like these. That's a model I would do a new guitar day on if somebody's interested. And next up, we've got a couple of Fender Japan guitars to talk about. So here we have a new signature Stratocaster that is kind of strange looking. So we have some sort of like a wide range humbucker in the neck with a very unique surround. Then we've got a Tele bridge pickup setup all on a Stratocaster's body with a Stratocaster's pickguard style just being chopped up by everything. Stratocaster output jack, everything else, you know, looking relatively the same. So it's really just strange pickups in a Strat. Okay, that's not like a set neck or anything like that, but we do have the string through styling and there's no trem system. So it's just an interesting blending of like a Telecaster custom into a Stratocaster. But on top of that, it appears to be spec'd out with an ash body, and that is a satin finish. Holy cow, thin line structure, that's new on me. So unfortunately we don't have the F-hole, but you do have the chambering underneath there. And nice, that is a real Kunifi wide range humbucker. It looks like maybe some other fancy electronics. That is a production made in Japan model that's listed for 220,000 yen. If you're interested in one but don't know how to shop in Japan, I might be able to help you out with my forwarding service. But if you don't want a production level one, there's actually 2 different stages to this one. Now it doesn't appear that one is like custom shop and the other one is made in Japan. This one, it just says official store limited model, so completely limited edition, whereas the other one is unlimited. And your big price difference comes down to the style of finish. So you've got this extra paragraph down here saying it is a real lacquer coating, so that's a true nitro finish. It's going to age versus the poly that the other one likely has. And they say they're a bit more particular about the wood that they use, being a 1-piece quarter sawn maple neck and carefully selected rosewood and carefully selected ash with a hard case. So better woods, hard shell case. I'm sure you might get something from the artist if you're one of the early ones to order one. Is it worth paying twice as much for? I guess I would leave that up to you. But this one is the true Japan exclusive. Unless you can buy it in Japan, you're not going to be able to get it outside of it. Thankfully, if you're interested, I do have a friend in Japan that can help us make it happen. And then lastly, this is the first time I'm seeing this thing, a Juanes Stratocaster. 352,000 yen. It's listed as brand new, but it's a Latin artist. What's this doing in Fender Japan? Did I miss this USA release? Yeah, apparently, but okay, it works for our episode today. So it looks like 2 noiseless single coils, humbucker in the bridge, kind of an interesting tremolo design on that one. Deep C neck profile shape, compound fretboard radius, and a 12 dB mid-boost circuit. That's pretty cool. And we've got a slight comfort cut to our heel. Alright, Troglodytes, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.